A few weeks ago, I reviewed the game Void Bastards, and in that piece I said that this may be one of the hardest games for me to review or take a look at. And it turns out Godhood by Abbey Games was waiting for me around the corner. But the footage that you're seeing in this first look is from the early access build of the game, and may not represent the current version of it. But the game itself tries to be, it's described as kind of a god game strategy, RPG, a lot of very different systems to it, which should come as no surprise as their last game, Renowned Explorers, was a very weird but still very engaging mixture of gameplay mechanics and loops. But the story is that we are back during the Aztec era, and we are a new god. And after choosing your name, what your followers will be, as well as your alignment, it's up to you to create the next best damn religion in the world. Come, I guess, hell or high water, no pun intended. But the game itself is built around different systems and elements, all kind of acting or interacting with each other. And similar to Renowned Explorers, high-level play is going to revolve around you figuring out how these synergies work. But with the game, at the beginning you're going to choose your commandment from a list of 6 with 4 currently available right now. The commandment is kind of like your quote-unquote faction in Godhood. It will determine what your first disciple will be, as well as specific bonuses or game mechanics that you'll have to deal with in the future or during your playthrough. For instance, the Lust commandment allows you to see the attraction between your followers and your opponents, and there are bonuses for characters being attracted to your people and then you attack them. It makes a little bit more sense in game, trust me. But the two main systems of Godhood are going to be your faction management or your religion management, and then the combat itself. So the god or the religion management kind of looks like almost like a mobile scene, or like almost like a Farmville or light city builder. Each day of in-game time, you can inspire or command up to 3 of your followers to perform a task. The task itself will usually earn you some kind of resource you can use. You'll need, for instance, fanatics in order to boost your buildings, or you can also boost your character's stats. As your followers level up, and each follower in the game is procedurally generated, both in terms of appearance as well as what stats they'll bring to the table. This is very important for the second part of Godhood, and that's combat. Similar to Renowned Explorers, Godhood, it has a mixture of various tactics and strategies that you can build your gameplay around. Each class in the game essentially has 2 things that go with it. The first is its element, and this is this plays into the game's rock, paper, scissors system. Within each element, there's usually, I believe, at the moment, 2 different classes that can fit in there. And the classes have an array of various abilities that they can make use of. And this is further synergized by whatever religion you pick. So if you pick a religion that is more about moral damage or morale damage, you don't want to have classes or followers that are going to be spec towards heavy physical damage. But if you go for war, for instance, then you want to do that. Now, with each class, once a follower has been assigned to it, and the game also will show you what classes that character is best suited for, you then make use of them in the combat scenario. Combat works on 3-on-3 battles, with each side having a religious HP, and each character having an individual HP bar. When a character takes damage, they'll take the damage as well as that damage coming out of their religious HP pool. When the religious pool hits 0, the battle is over. But characters can be knocked out beforehand, and then that battle becomes a 2-on-3, 2-on-1, you get the picture. Now, here's the interesting rub when it comes to combat and Godhood. and that is the fact that it is entirely AI driven. You do not control how your party member attacks or who they attack during play. They will pick their targets usually based on what they're best suited for. So if you have somebody who is strong or has an advantage against an opposing enemy, they will usually focus on them to maximize damage. With that said though, there are a lot of passives and unique abilities that everyone has access to that can mess with these rules. Certain classes have a greater chance to block or get in the way of attacks. Other ones may counter or go multiple times, and so on and so forth. And then this gets compounded on by the interconnection between the settlement management, with having different followers age up and then are no longer available, getting new ones. There's even a random system that determines the quality of the followers you get, along with upgrading them via the miracle system and getting them new powers. And very similar to Renowned Explorers, all this interconnectivity of systems and mechanics is what will really drive the high level play. With RE, anyone who played that game at the high level knew that the only way you were going to win was you had to exploit every synergy you could get within your characters and the strategies to have any chance of winning. Godhood is far easier compared to RE when it came to the lose state. Losing a battle in Godhood does not end your game. It basically just puts those 3 people out of commission for a few days, and it seems like the game allows you to play as long as you're able to, or as long as you want, without giving you a hard end or a hard fail. But with that said though, I want to talk a little about some of the nitpicks and issues I have with Godhood, because this is a very strange game to examine, especially this being the first version of Early Access. And as I said at the start, there is a very good chance that what you see in this video may not even be accurate in the coming months or when the game is released in 1.0. But we're going to do a quick shout out to our current Patreon supporters and sponsors, and when we come back, I'm going to fast forward the footage, and we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of where I find the game at this moment. And now a quick shout out to our current Game Wisdom Patreon supporters and sponsors. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. Godhood is a very hard game at the moment to kind of put my finger on whether or not I'm liking or disliking it. As we've talked about over the past almost 8 minutes of footage, there is a lot of depth to Godhood's design, from how combat plays out to the growth and progression of your various followers. The problem is that the majority of this depth is completely out of the player's control. And this is a far cry from something like Renowned Explorers, that really left up to the player to pick everything and figure out all those synergies and combinations to succeed. Godhood is monstrously less complicated than Renowned Explorers, but it doesn't really feel that way, especially in this current iteration of the game. So much of the complexity lies in the underlying systems, from how the characters progress, what kind of relics you attach to them, and this makes it kind of hard to know what it is you should be doing and kind of your game plan. When it comes to the actual growth, because so much of it is based on RNG, what followers you get access to, what their passives are, what classes they're best suited at, and try and tie that into what buildings you use to construct, as well as your commandments, it leaves this as kind of feeling like one of those games where you can just kind of be pushing buttons and not being sure as to whether or not you are winning because you're doing something right, or just by, happenstance. And that is certainly true of the combat in Godhood. And it's going to, I think, be its most polarizing mechanic or system, at least at this version of it. While playing it, the thing that I found was that it was very hard to once again figure out, am I winning this, or why am I winning or losing? At the beginning, you have your religious EXP that you see at the top of the screen right now, and it doesn't seem to go up unless you're using a character of the songwriting or the song kind of class. But when enemies get health in the 80, 100, I'm sure they even go higher than that, and you're still stuck at 50, there's not much you can do about it. And the game seems to heavily favor alpha strikes, or once again, doing heavy amount of damage in the short run as opposed to defense over the long run. And with combat being, I think, only 10 turns long, this is very much evident by that. That if you can't get the enemy down fast enough, they can just tick away at your health or just use their enormous health pool to kind of outlast your assault. And it does raise into question the issue of false choice in a game like this. That yes, you have all these different classes and ways of building your parties, but if you're not explicitly tuned towards just dominating whatever strategy your enemy has, there's not much else you can do to win. Now, there is some measure of RNG during combat based on whether or not blocks go through, if an attack is resisted, etc. But again, so much of this game is out of your hands. And another thing that I hope you've noticed over the course of this video, despite the title of this game being called Godhood, there is very little at this moment that will be defined as a God game. You have very limited control over what your followers do, you have no real control over the environment or how your settlement grows and prospers outside of building those fixed buildings or fixed structures, and it just feels kind of lacking in that regard. Now, the game does have several months that they've said to be in early access, so again, what you see could definitely not be a part of this game when it hits 1.0. And I would have been curious to see, I remember when I spoke with Abby Games, that it took them, I think, a good year of playing around and designing and fine-tuning around Explorers before it got to the point that everyone really enjoyed with 1.0. So, again, it's still too early to tell where Godhood is going to fall, but I am really curious to hear what you guys think who are watching this, who've played the game, and what are your thoughts on it at this moment. And are there early elements that you would like to see improved like I am? But with that said, I would like to thank Abby Games for giving me a press key to look at this, and I am definitely going to be keeping my eye on this, especially as we get closer to 1.0, or even with future updates to see where their thought process goes with it. But if you'd like me to take a look at your game in the future, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and check back for daily discussions on game design here, and on Game Wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. Once again, this has been Godhood, and I will see you all next time. If you're looking for a book on design, my first title, 20 Essential Games to Study, is out now. It is available where most books are sold, and it comes in paper, hardcover, or digital copies. This is the perfect book for anyone interested in learning about game design, whether you are a student, enthusiast, or just a fan. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel linked down below where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.